Has 2022 started slightly slower than 2021 finished? That's what we're going to talk about in this month's market update. So at the start of January, I did sense the market. It felt like it was a little bit slow. It had gone off the boil just a little bit. That's a sense I had at the very start of January. But as we progressed past the second week, and naturally enough, everyone kind of started coming back to work, it seems like it went straight back to where we left off in 2021. Great news for sellers, maybe not as good for buyers, but there's always two sides to the story. So at the start of January, I definitely felt a little bit of a slowdown in the market now, or a pause. I like to say a pause these days because it wasn't a full slowdown. So as a seller, was it time to panic? No. As a buyer, was it time to say, oh, I'm going to wait for the market to crash? Absolutely not. It was just a little bit of a pause. And as we got to about the second week of January and everyone kind of came back to work, including myself, it seems like things picked up fairly quickly and got back to where we left off in late 2021. In fact, as a buyer, gosh, when you see it slow down a little bit, that's not your opportunity to pause. And unfortunately, buyers tend to act collectively and they all pause at the same time. And that's what caused that little bit of a slowdown at the start of January. But as the great philosopher Julie Roberts once said, big mistake, huge. Because the time to buy in these markets is when things slow down a little bit because you have more choice. As a seller, you don't have to worry because the market didn't suddenly drop, just activity slowed down a little bit, but the prices did not follow. It takes an awful lot for the prices to start actually coming down. It takes not a pause, it takes a complete slowdown, and we're not quite sure what actually ends up causing that, the same as we weren't quite sure why things took off a year or two ago. What is interesting is a case study on two properties. Both of them I put on about the 1.2-ish mark in two completely different areas, local to this area, but two completely different areas. On one of them, good activity at the open, no offers. On the other one day on the market, 8 offers the next day, all of them sight unseen. So what was interesting is even in this market, there's segments of the market which are feverishly hot and just magma or lava hot, to quote Austin Powers. And there's other segments of the market which are good, but they took a little bit longer. This particular property that priced at 1.2 actually took 2 weeks to sell. No need for panic still, because 2 weeks is still pretty good in the scheme of things, but it wasn't a few days like other properties that I've been listing have sold. So that's something as an agent I need to be super aware of as to what are these little pockets where the activity is just astronomical and we can keep pushing the price. As a buyer, if you're buying those areas, you've got to have everything lined up to make sure you have the best opportunity to win that property. And I'll back up. To say win that property might sound wrong, but that's what it is. It is a race to get property, and as long as you're prepared to hold it, you'll do well on property, even buying in this market, which I did a few months ago. I mean, to give you an idea of where the market's gone, in Coolum Beach, where my office is right now, entry level for a house is probably right around the 1.1 mark, if you can find it. Entry level for a decent unit is around the $650,000 to $700,000 mark. That's about a 40-ish% rise in 2021. That's not the highest along the coast here, but that's still substantial. We won't see as much this year, but I think we'll still see at least a solid 10% in 2022. And then, like I've predicted, I think 2023 may have a little bit of an adjustment. So pretty much across the board, units, houses, everything's selling well. Vacant land, if you can find it, is off the charts. But this area of the coast, there's just not a lot of vacant land. So if there is vacant land out there, yeah, it's going to sell. It's going to sell with a ton of competition, and it's going to sell for a lot more than what it looks like it's worth, but that's just the market on vacant land. Now, some more good news for sellers. So buyers, if you want to tune out at this point to avoid the pain, you can probably tune out. Realestate.com just put out a big survey on the next area they think will become the new Byron Bay. Now, I'm not sure if this is good or bad in the scheme of things, but for property values it's probably good. They identified 4 areas, 2 in New South Wales along the coast, 1 in Victoria, which was Lorne in Victoria, and the 4th area that they said may become the next Byron Bay was right here in Coolum Beach. So I found that very interesting that it's been identified as that. I don't know if I can actually see that, but the fact that's getting put out in the news will cause property values to go up because there'll be a lot more eyes on Coolum Beach. So again, great news for sellers. If you're a buyer, It's not necessarily bad news, but it just means you can't keep hesitating. You've got to get into this market now, as painful as it may sound or feel. Doesn't matter, it'll be more painful in 3, 5 or 10 years time, I guarantee it. So that's the market update for January 2022. The market, a little bit of a slow start, but now it's picked up to where it left off in 2021. I can't see it really going down this year, but again, I don't know the same as nobody else knows. So as always, if you're a seller, give me a call. I'll have a good chat with you about what the market was, what it is, and what it's doing. If you're a buyer, give me a call. I'll absolutely help you find a property. And if you're a landlord, we'd love to manage your property and show you what we can do, including our rental guarantees. That's it. Talk to you all next week.